Okay, and we're back. Are we on? We are. Okay, we are back. And now we're ready for the writing portion. We learned just a second ago that if I pause the recording, you cannot start again. So this is part 2, which conveniently enough is the writing portion. Okay, so if you were here, I would have you read from your keyword outlines on life preserver or Rafflesia, but we aren't going to take the time to do that because I can't hear Aiden through the screen tell me what his paragraph would be, and Gina's is ready, but we won't have her share it. We will share when we regroup our new paragraph, okay? So before we do our next step to paragraph writing, today I want to talk a little bit about adverbs as one way to dress up simple sentences and make them more interesting, but also make them much more detailed. All right, so adverbs often start with often end in ly. So can you think, Gina, of any ly words?
Quickly.
Quickly, all right? Any others?
Lovely.
Oh, lovely. How about lazily? So here's just some to start. Actually, and what I think is funny that you said lovely. Actually, lovely can be both an adjective and an adverb, so I will leave it up there. All right. We have, and I gave this to Mrs. Pickard, so Aiden, you have your very own copy on orange, but here's a list of lots of ly adverbs. Softly, stubbornly, nicely, excitedly, aimlessly, anxiously. Right? It changes the whole mood. So I have 3 very simple sentences here, and I wanted to demonstrate to you how adverbs change the whole meaning of your sentence. So I could say, I laughed loudly, right? But how different is your visual if the sentence said, I laughed rudely? I laughed obnoxiously. All right? So the ly word is actually adverbs. They describe verbs. How did I laugh? Obnoxiously. How did I laugh? Lazily. All right? So I wanted to, again, if you're here, Gina danced. How did Gina dance?
Lovely.
Lovely. Gina danced lovely. How about Gina danced gracefully? Okay, and that conjures up graceful dancing. What if I said Gina danced pathetically? It's a totally different image, isn't it? If I looked, Gina danced frightfully. It's a different kind of dance, isn't it? All right, here I have Aiden ate. How did Aiden eat, Gina?
Lazily.
Lazily. Aiden ate lazily. How about Aiden ate ferociously? Aiden ate continually or quickly. Yes. All of these are ly words that make your verb even more interesting. Okay? It's a big difference between eating ferociously and eating slowly. Aiden ate joyfully. Gina danced sadly. All right? So hold on to these ly adverbs. Make sure your list is handy because today, as part of our IEW assignment, we're going to be adding in ly adverbs. All right? So if you will get our IEW book, what we're going to do here, if I can find the page, is in lesson 2 on page 14, there's a paragraph called limeys, okay? funny word, isn't it? All right, and we are going to keyword outline it, okay? So, because I know that you can read it to yourself or out loud, I'm going to read it, and Gina, we're just going to do the first few sentences so that we don't have to do the whole thing here without Aiden, but I know you know how to do this because you did it last week, okay? So the first sentence says, English sailors were once called limeys, okay? So, Gina, what's your key words for that?
Sailors called limeys.
All right, we've got sailors called limeys. All right, and now it's in quotation marks, right? So I capitalized it, and it doesn't need to be. Limeys. So we're going to put it. All right, the next sentence reads, you see, about 200 years ago, many of them were getting a disease called scurvy. That's just fun to say. Scurvy. All right, what would you say? We get to use a number. 2
years.
100.
Years?
Mhm.
Abbreviation.
Yep, abbreviation.
Getting sick. Well,
What kind
diseases.
of sickness? Yeah, disease. What kind of disease?
Called scurvy.
Scurvy. Good. That's an important word, right?
Scurvy.
Okay, and then let's do one more sentence. Then a doctor discovered that giving sailors lime juice every day prevented the disease. So what would be our cue?
Doctor.
Okay.
Actually, no. Oh, that's abbreviation, so it doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
Diseases. Well, no. Discovered.
Discovered.
Can we make lime juice one word?
Sure. Lime juice prevented the disease. Okay. Should we do one more? Okay, it says English ships started carrying barrels of limes.
Ships. Barrels, lime?
Perfect. Ships, barrels, limes. Okay, so this is where we stopped last week. And I know I had Gina and I know Aiden at home then would take a look at this and would read back a paragraph from our key words, right? So we're modeling good writing from our paragraph. This week, we're going to go the extra step because, surprise, I don't know if you knew this was actually a writing class. So this week, we're actually going to write our paragraph down, okay? So I'm going to move over to this side of the board. Gina, what sentence would you make from our first line?
Sailors called limeys. Were called.
Sailors, good, were called, I think I can fit it, limeys. Okay, next sentence.
200 years ago, there was diseases called scurvy.
200 years ago, there was a disease, yes, called scurvy. Okay, next sentence.
Doctors discovered doctors discovered lime juice.
Discovered that.
Lime juice kept the sickness away.
Great, lime juice kept the sickness away. All right, last sentence.
Ships ships started bringing barrels of limes
Great. Ships. Where do they bring them?
on their ships.
Could we say started carrying?
Yeah.
Great. Barrels of limes on board. Okay? Now we could go. Oh, hello. You still there? Okay. We could go on and we could write this whole paragraph, okay? But for purposes of what I'm going to have you do for your homework, we don't need the whole paragraph here, okay? So there's a couple things I want you to notice. Remember, this is our rough draft. So all we're doing is we're here, it's in our head, and we're just trying to get it down on paper, okay? So I will certainly write these. If Gina wants to write these, I'm totally fine with her doing that too. I totally think you can, okay? But we don't necessarily want to get stuck on, well, I can't use the word 100 because I don't know how to spell it. Okay, that's silly. Just spell it best you can and keep moving, okay? And then we want to go back, but there's a couple things I want to point out to you that you guys are capable of fixing and identifying on your own, okay? So day 1, we keyword outline. Day 2, we have our rough draft. Day 3, if you're working this way, we go back and we edit. Editing is the most important part of writing, okay? You have to be able to get it out of your brain onto the paper, but then you also have to be able to go back and look at it and find the mistakes, because they're always there. And believe me, I love to write, and I still don't like to edit. I just want to type it out and print it off and be done with it. But the truth is, if I don't go back and look at it, I'm not going to know what silly errors I might have made. So notice, when you start to write a paragraph, what's different about this line than all the others?
Smaller?
It's smaller. It's indented is the word, okay? So the first beginning of every paragraph, you space it over and you start, and then all the rest in that paragraph come to the edge. And this is for our eyes. If we were to start another paragraph here, we would indent, and then we would keep going, okay? So that one of the first things you want to ask yourself when you're looking at your rough draft is, did I indent? If you didn't, you can take an arrow like this. This is what I do. And I'll say, push it over, okay? The next thing Aiden and Gina are fully capable of doing is reading their paragraph out loud and each sentence saying, does it end with an end mark? Does it begin with a capital letter? Okay, that doesn't even require your mom. You can say, does every sentence begin with a capital letter and end with an end mark? Then, when you have your mom around, you can go through and check that there are no fragments, because sometimes that's a little harder to catch. All right, the fragment, remember we just talked about it, is there a subject, ships, and is there a verb, started? Okay, doctors discovered, there was. Okay, so those are 3 easy ways to proofread. Now, at your age, I'm going to have mom or dad be like, okay, now I want to check my spelling. Okay, and then finally, here's the fun thing that I would like for you to add in this week, a dress up. I want you, after you've written your rough draft, I want you to go back in and I want you to find an action verb that is dying for an ly adverb to make it more awesome, okay? So, Rhonda, this is where I I don't care if they can find the action verb. If they can, great. But otherwise, I'll just say, okay, look, you can work with discovered. You could work with started. And then you could also say called or kept. What kind of ly words could we add in there? No, we just want to add in 1, maybe 2 if you have an awesome one. Okay? So Gina, how doctors discovered that lime juice kept the sickness away. Can you think of an ly word? And this might be where they want to go and check their list.